Hello, everyone. It is that time of year. It is time to talk about and rank my favorite songs of 2025. I already made an album ranking video where I ranked all of the albums I felt like I needed to, or I engaged with it all this year, that I listened to this year. I ranked in on Tier Maker, and I will link that in the description. But now we're just going to talk about individual songs, which, believe it or not, I actually kind of enjoy more than talking about albums. It's why I don't definitively do a best albums of the year video traditionally. Because for me, it's a lot to listen to a full album and digest it and properly review. That's why I only review a handful of albums on my channel these days. I do listen to more albums than I review, of course, but I feel like, I don't know, collecting songs from different projects and weighing those songs on their own, I find to be very interesting. Now, of course, conversely, that is not to say that I do not believe that albums are extremely important. So, as someone, I might sound like someone who says, forget albums, we're here for singles. I actually vastly prefer artists to put out their work in the form of an album. But for year end lists, I find it a lot harder for me to rank individual albums than I do songs. I don't know why it is, but I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it's also I just get a more broad array of artists to talk about because there will be songs I really like off of an album that I otherwise find mediocre. And so that happens quite a lot. And so this is a way for me to spotlight it. So I just felt like giving that little preface here. We are going to talk about 40 songs today in order from my least most favorite to most favorite. And we will also have 10, I will also list 10 honorable mentions that will be in the comments section, as well as a playlist with all 50 of these songs linked in the description. So if you're an Apple Music user, you can access it. For Spotify, I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't use Spotify. Apple Music is better. And also, one other thing, I always like to make this a preface that I include only songs that came out within the actual calendar year of 2025. That's January 1st to December 31st. Technically, that date hasn't happened yet, but no music comes out the last week of the year. So, with that being said, if it is a single attached to an album that came out this year, but the single came out last year, I cannot talk about it. So I want to give a shout out to Angel of My Dreams by Jade, because that is a song that I did not listen to until this year, but the song came out last fall. That song would have been on my best songs of 2024 list. I actually do go back and add and amend those lists, over time. So all of those lists are on my, Apple Music profile if you were interested in checking them out. So Angel of My Dreams, shout out to that song. Such an incredible lead single from Jade. You will see more Jade on this list though. And then also, I have to mention Pitchfork. It's not a typical video if I don't drag Pitchfork. I do give, even though their lists really annoy me, I do look at their 100 best songs of the year list because I'm just curious. Because also, let's be honest, they do sometimes spotlight artists that I do think are worthy of that spotlight and have some songs I really do love that I would have never discovered otherwise since they really focus on indie artists. And there were some songs that I was turned on to. One of them I would have put on this list, but after doing a tiny bit of digging, I soul-crushingly discovered that it was released in November of 2024. I am talking about the song Luciferine by the artist Ichiko Aoba off of her album Luminescent Creatures. Luminescent Creatures did, of course, release this year, back in February, but Luciferine, the song, did not. Therefore, it is ineligible for this list. But what's even more puzzling is it should have been ineligible for Pitchfork's 2025 list. The song came out in November, not December. Pitchfork always ignores December, or they roll December into the following year because for whatever reason, they decide that the year ends on December 1st instead of January 1st. I don't know why they do it, but it's just a tale as old as time with them. They're a very annoying organization, and a lot of other publications do this too. They are not the only ones. But November is before December, so I guess this song did not pop up on their radar in time. but it's like this song should not have been ineligible for your list either, Pitchfork. But you know, at the same time, I can't fault them for including it because then I wouldn't have discovered it. It is an absolutely gorgeous track. Highly recommend you check it out. And I am absolutely gutted that I could not include it on this list. All right, but with all that out of the way, let's get into the songs that were eligible that I can talk about. Starting with number 40. Kesha had a sort of really big Independence Day this year. Her first album on an independent label. She's actually the CEO of her own record label, and believe it or not, she actually has her mom signed to it, and her mom actually just released an album. I actually still haven't checked it out. For the first time, her mom, PB Siebert, has been a songwriter for decades. Working with Dolly Parton, so many, and she's finally putting out a body of work. I mean, this is something she's been wanting to do forever, and her daughter made it happen. But of course, this year we also got the proclamation of period, the emancipation from Kemosabe, the emancipation from Dr. Luke. As much as Gag Order felt very much like an album that was all about being freed from that, that was still her last contractually obligated record on that imprint. But now she's free, and a year before that, she released the lead single Joyride to mark on Independence Day that occasion. Well, this Independence Day, we got Period. And Freedom, the opening track, is this like 6-minute, very all over the place tour de force that showcases the kind of cathartic emphasis on what this meant for Kesha moving forward. You can just feel the weight lifted off of her shoulders, the exuberant, ecstatic joy that manifests itself and once in the most beautiful vocal intro she's ever given to the most RuPaul's Drag Race runway ready club beat with piano that is so groovy. It absolutely blew me away, even though I still don't understand entirely what the lyrics always mean in the latter half of the song, talking about the sex shop. It's a song that I think is at once very esoteric and also at once very cavalier and irreverent. And Kesha knows how to do those two things very well.
Hey, somebody take me in your arms tonight. Well, all right.
Sinners was the big, unexpected breakout blockbuster of the year. Everyone was talking about One Battle After Another as, rightfully so, an awards contender, but no one knew that Ryan Coogler's Sinners would be as big a deal at the box office, but also with critics, and also with music heads. I Lied to You is one of the frontrunners to win Best Original Song at the 2026 Oscars. It is most definitely getting a nomination. Miles Keaton delivers a Bohemian Rhapsody-esque opera that transcends genre and time. The song has a traditional blues feel rooted in gospel blues music that transitions into hip-hop, EDM. It goes through all of these iterations, and if you watch the film, it's in the central, sort of apex moment, surrealist moment of the film, where the revelers of this party at this juke joint that becomes this spiritual, elevating meditation and transcendent look at the history of Black music in America over the decades, and going back to indigenous times as well. It's the central heart of the film, and I do think elevates the film, although it's elevated in so many other ways: production design, cinematography, the acting, the writing. But this sequence in itself, just as a music video, is just so elevated and brings the film up to lofty levels that I think worthy of the critical praise it's getting this year.
For the peaks or the asphalt, a carpet look.
The Last Dinner Party was a band I was familiarized to this year. I had never heard of them before. They are an alternative outfit that is definitely channeling some Florence and the Machine. There's definitely, it's like Florence and the Machine meets Muna, and as far as girl bands go in my description. And I vacillated between one other song, including it on this list. I was very nearly going to put The Scythe, because that one has just a bit more of a, memorable hook and sort of a bigger single quality. But Woman is a Tree, ultimately, the earthiness and pagan folkiness of their chanting and the sort of whimsicality of the melody was what really roped me into their music. And so this song, I mean, describing a woman as this earthly, transcendent being that covers and protects all around her, and, something men want to chop branches off of and climb. I mean, is an apt metaphor that I'm sure has been done before a million times, but the way they tie it into this very, kind of Britannic, earthly, pagan folk feel is just so perfect for the sort of midsummer-esque vibes that they channel through a lot of their music.
Favorite part now, we ain't got a town.
Zara Larsson really blew up in my mind, and also somewhat in the mass consciousness this year with Midnight Sun. The title track was just an absolute joyride that erupted out of nowhere for me in a way that I never expected a Zara Larsson track to do. Her music has always felt so generic and safe in the pop space. But this one, she really takes and she really goes above with the production choices and the way in which she uses her voice. The dance elements are even fiercer and crisper, and she just elevates a song that is high camp and very celebratory of the summer, the midnight sun. Being in Scandinavia, you get those endless long summer nights. This was the song of the summer for me. It very much it's a very much an emblematic song of those revelatory sort of late night long party nights that just end in this dizzying array of cathartic Nordic bliss. And so the music video does a really great job at sort of channeling this dated Windows wallpaper aesthetic that works to somehow elevate the song into feeling like high art for me. I don't know if anyone else felt that, but the way the music video was handled in terms of how green screened it was felt intentional, and it felt like a sort of homage to early 2000s music video filmmaking. That felt camp, but also aware of its reference in a way that felt pointed.
Way to escape it, we could be free. We can't fix it if we never face it. Let the past be the past.
I did finally watch K-pop Demon Hunters. I was very late to the game with this one to see what all the fuss was about. This movie is one of the most watched movies of all time on Netflix and has become the animated film of 2025. And several of its songs from its stacked soundtrack have made their home in the pop lexicon. But I had avoided them somehow until I watched the movie recently. And now I get what all the hype is about. Soda Pop is a bop, no doubt about it. So many of them are. Golden, I understand why it's an Oscar frontrunner. But for me, the song that ultimately landed the most, and is probably the most underrated on the soundtrack, is the big power ballad, the emotional core of the film, when the antagonist and the protagonist, Jinu and Rumi, sing together about finding differences in where they're coming at solving their own issues. And it's just I saw someone describe it as the whole new world from Aladdin of the new generation. And I so agree. This is a beautiful soaring R&B ballad that lifts off just like they do in the film. I am absolutely in love with their vocals, how they harmonize together. I would have loved to have heard like Jordan Sparks on this track. I saw someone say they think Coco Jones should be on this. I definitely see this song being it could be the next No Air from Jordan Sparks if it was getting the radio push that it deserves. But instead, Soda Pop and Golden will get that accolade. But you know what? I can't complain because almost all of the songs on the soundtrack are incredible.
Call you back, ruin your life and then tell you we're late. And look, I get it if the sex is kinda good, but guess what, honey, if he wanted to, he would. I hate to
This was a big year for Perry Edwards and for Jade Thirlwall. And it's so cool to see both of these Little Mix girls thrive in a way that, I wasn't sure if it was ever going to happen. It's been a long time since Little Mix put out an album. And it's been a long time since they've been teasing getting debut albums out there. Shout out to Leanne Pinnock. She also had a pretty good year with 3 big hit singles. Well, at least big singles. Gearing up for an album in early 2026. I'm very excited about that. Once again, Jessie Nelson found in a ditch, as she should be. Sorry, girl. But I am very happy to say that Perry did not disappoint. I wasn't, again, expecting that much. I was thinking we're going the Zara Larsson, Ava Max route with very safe, by-the-numbers pop music, and some of it is. But I don't know. If he wanted to, he would. The lead single has just held its power over me, sunk its claws into me for so long at this point, I cannot get myself to stop singing the hook. I don't know what it is. I just am so infected by this song. And I also do love the tongue-in-cheek way it talks about how men will let you down every single time. You should not ever give an inch because they will take a mile. Don't waste your time. And that's so brilliantly expressed in such a confident way on this track that is such an anthem for girls everywhere. And gay men. Pink Pantheress has always felt too slight for me. I come from, the era of Nicki Minaj, and I know Nicki has completely tarnished her legacy now. Oh, that could be a whole other video. Oh, R.I.P. But I've had a hard time coming around to Pink because I just, it was the 2-minute song of it all, the TikTok kind of geared algorithmic feel of all her songs. And make no mistake, Illegal was hugely formulated to go viral on TikTok, and that it did. But there's something that finally clicked for me with this. I don't know if it's just I'm a real sucker for really warm and, reverby synths, but I just absolutely am infected by this Forever 21 mall cruising beat that she rides in such an effortless way. I mean, it's a very minimalistic song in her vocals, but that's kind of what Pink delivers. It's a great, pop urban bridge for her. I don't know. I'm having a good time with it. And I agree it deserves to be on a lot of year-end lists, which it is.
as loud as I will. Everybody dance. Everybody sing. Everybody move.
Florence and the Machine delivered a really dark and witchy album, her darkest and witchiest yet, which is something I've always wanted from her. And believe it or not, I still think she can dive deeper, and I do wonder if she can and ever will. But Everybody Scream was a phenomenal opening offering to her October record. The way the song changes up from vocal chanting, ominous, very witchy shrieks and screams, to very light on its feet, wistful, out on the moors in the verses. I just have an affinity for Florence making chamber pop sounding songs that transcend genre, transcend the sort of modernization of music to feel earthy and something that could have been sung in days of old as well as at Glastonbury in 2025. There's just this connection and through line to pagan music that's so rich. And she does do a chamber version of it, which I think is a really interesting twist on the melodic construction, on the instruments that are used. It's got a very Renaissance, medieval, Middle Ages feel to it with the instrumentation. And I love both versions.
But I don't wanna. Salma Hayek in the sun. He's in Thelma on the
Princess of Power was a perfectly fun record. I wouldn't say it was a lofty record in the heights that Marina has achieved on her second and third records, but it certainly was a step in the right direction after Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land, both, I think, lyrically and sonically. Although the lyrics, there was a very pointed message and political message to her last album, and I cannot understate the importance of that. But she decided to go a little broader, a little more sexy this time, and Cantissimo is the perfect summer song to sort of dip her toes back into the Electra heart pulse of mainstream popdom that she was once a little bit more in the sphere of. Cantissimo should have been bigger, and the pulse of this song just does not let up. The way she rides this beat and takes us to Lake Como in our most extravagant, ripped up, faux Victorian gear. It feels like this absolute revelry the night after a debaucherous party that, just is a celebration of girlhood and power, which is something Marina is best at doing.
I have been changed for good. In a world, maybe.
Wicked for Good definitely is missing some of the heavy hitter ballads and up-tempo songs. Everyone loved Popular and Defying Gravity and The Wizard and I from the first film. But the second film's soundtrack, in my opinion, is not so easily deserved to be overlooked. The final song, the Defying Gravity of this record, still has an emotional catharsis that I think is the perfect answer song to Defying Gravity. In fact, the two definitely interpolate each other with the unlimited refrain, with the oboe refraining the melody line, which is so beautiful in the way John Powell composed the accompanying score for the Stephen Schwartz song from the Broadway musical. And at the end of the day, I don't care what anyone says, the finality of For Good, the emotional heart and, climax is going to always tug at me so much more. Not that the rest of the film and the first film is not emotional, but I'm a person who really likes endings. And I felt like Wicked for Good lived up to delivery, what it should, for the tail end of the story of Wicked. I can understand why some people weren't as enthralled, and I'll talk more about my thoughts on the actual film when I dive into the films I watched in 2025 video. Stay tuned for that coming next month. But Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are the lifeblood of this story, and they bring Elphaba and our Glinda to life in such an effortlessly relatable and elevated fairy tale fashion at the same time. I just am absolutely in love with their vocals, their voices, the emotionality that comes through on this particular track. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously including it lower on this list because it is not an original song. It was written decades ago, but I had to give a shout out to it, just like I had to, of course, put Defying Gravity, their version, on my 2024 list.
More tears, I'm not wasting time, can you sad tonight? After all these years, finally living my best life. I gotta dust it off.
I was so excited to finally see the return of Jessie J this year. She has been going through it. She was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. She had to cancel her tour or postpone it. And I believe there's been several false starts to an album for many years now. But it finally materialized at the end of this year. And Living My Best Life, which was that triumphant return single that, really, I think, led the way for this record, has always stood out for me as just being such an unapologetic celebration of what living life should be about. It's a great reminder in these dark days to find joy in everything you can and never let it go for anything. Don't give an inch because it is not worth it. And her voice has never sounded better.
Sea como se hace recuerdo, siempre es verdad en mi mente. Y si mi alma se derrama en la falta de pasado.
Rosalia giving us a operatic, very classically inspired Latin record was not on my 2025 bingo card, but it actually feels like such a natural progression for where she's gone in the past. I know some people are going to talk about cultural appropriation with how she used to be pop Latino with the reggaeton stuff, and now she's returning back to her Spaniard classical music roots. But why can't there be room in the diaspora for both? I think that, she has a great way of bringing together all these diasporic elements of classical European Latino music and, Central South American Latino music, and does a way and just bridges them so effortlessly. Memoria is the probably most delicate and rich melody on the record for its instrumentation, for its aching melody line, its lamentative quality, its reflective quality. And for that, it stands out amongst a bunch of beautiful works of art in the sonic, in her sonic oeuvre.
You were just honing your powers, now I can see it all. They wanna get me out of my grave and save my heart from the fate of Ophelia.
The Fate of Ophelia by Taylor Swift, I think, is the best song on Life of a Showgirl, and I really do buy the story she's telling, even wanting to celebrate how she was going through it with her ex, and now she has been, saved from the depths of that icy lake. There's just such a clarity to this song, a clarity of mind, a clarity of production, thanks to Mr. Max Martin coming back. Jack Antonoff is no longer in the building, and that was already going to give it points. And so this song will have a life of its own, I think, for many Swifties moving forward. Although I do see a lot of people rallying around Opalite. I do believe that the first three songs are definitely the most memorable and the most what I think people wanted from this album, even though actually I think that the end song is also really incredible.
Guess I gotta accept the pain. Need a cigarette to make me feel better. Every good thing comes my way. So I put my headphones on.
Addison Rae, if you watched my 2024 Best Songs of the Year list, you'll know that I very unexpectedly fell in love with this former TikToker. And the music she's continued to put out this year for her debut, Addison, it never disappointed. I mean, the actual album itself, I think, had some filler that, she did not tease earlier that maybe was a little disappointing. The album's a bit slight, it's a bit short. I wish there were more songs, or that maybe she hadn't put too many singles out ahead of time. Headphones On was the fourth single, and one that I loved initially but didn't truly love until it got stuck in my head over time. What a wonderful kind of visceral homage to escapism in music and pop music. I mean, Addison just gets it. The production is very reminiscent of bedtime stories from Madonna, very mid-90s, early 90s pop R&B, dance. I'm absolutely in love with the lushness of the sound. It's just a song I just want to listen to nonstop.
Places to run, just make me. I got places to run to. I got places.
Ali and AJ really leaned into their folk side on this newest record of theirs. And Places to Run, I was really toying with what my favorite song on this record was. But I ultimately came to this one mainly because I just love the guitar solo that comes through. I think that it has just such a catchy refrain that gets stuck memorably in your head. And ultimately, I think encapsulates the wanderlust of this record, of being out on the open road. I mean, so many of their albums have that. But I think that this album has just that Polaroid picture of a summer late afternoon in, the California, in New Mexico, out on the road in the US with sunglasses. It's just a beautiful sunglass tinted look at summer, nostalgia, romance. I mean, they really just get it. I'm always here for their sun-kissed melody and guitar work.
For the rest of my life, I'm an ocean where the tears fall from the sky. I wanna stay here.
Purity Ring came back after 5 years to put out they did put out an EP in 2022, but their first album in 5 years, their self-titled, was up to par with the music I come to expect, the quality of their music in the past. But for me, what really stood out was the quieter moments this time around instead of the big, heavier pop moments. And I'm an Ocean is everything that title sounds like in my mind. Just being swept up in this kind of cosmic wave of water and crystal lighting and blues and purples and deep green and aquamarine, and just feeling enveloped by the night and immensity of emotion comes through so blissfully on this track. And so simply. They didn't have to overdo the bells and whistles for it to come through. And there's just that slight country edge that I think it grounds it, to give it this transcendent, beachside quality.
Took over my fate till I remember just how far I came, shining through the clouds.
Kali Uchis really decided to strip back some of the more up-tempo elements of her music and deliver an extremely soft and delicate record with one of the most beautifully soft and featherweight melodies I've ever heard, In Heaven is a Home. Her vocals are so sharp and so clear and liquid. They just envelop you like really plush satin. And there's just such a richness in all of that she's enveloping you in on this record. And just a blissfulness that I just want to escape into and never leave.
You look at me with a rage I cannot place, but I'm not the enemy. I'll carry you through your pain.
11 years. Sarah McLachlan came back to us after 11 years. And Sarah McLachlan would not be Sarah McLachlan without a measured and contemplative, remorseful, reflective piano ballad like Gravity. It's not treading any new sonic territory for her, but she has proven herself already to be a wonderful songwriter. And everything about her lyrics, her melody construction is best exemplified on this second single that was released off of her album Better Broken this year.
When a girl feels good, she's gonna keep you around. When a girl feels good, you know.
FKA Twigs, along with Addison Rae, were two artists that leaped into my sphere last year in a way I did not expect. And Girl Feels Good, which was a song only on the January release of Eusexua and annoyingly omitted from the November release, but remember, it didn't erase the January version. There's just two versions of this same album out there. And of course, then there's Afterglow, but that's a whole different thing. But Girl Feels Good is the most student of Madonna pop song from Ray of Light that I have ever heard. When you think no one wants to go in that lane these days, you've got Addison with some of her work, and you've got FKA Twigs channeling Ray of Light in the year of our Lord 2025 so brilliantly. As a matter of fact, so many of my favorite artists this year referenced Ray of Light because Jade did a cover of Frozen on her deluxe edition of her debut album. Isn't that interesting? Ray of Light is timeless, and if you want to capture that William Orbit production, whoever she teamed up with on this song, I can't remember, just really took us to that transcendent place. Everything about this song, I mean, it's so buoyant, it's so elevated, it's so hopeful, ecstatic. I'm just absolutely in love with where she goes here. And it's probably one of the most, or somewhat the most accessible pop songs she's ever made. It's very interesting how, Talia decided this time around to really, dip her toes into mainstream pop sounding music. And I'm here for it. Although I always appreciate the sort of elevated experimentation that is sprinkled on the top.
Something I don't know.
I've missed Hannah. Hannah Pessel, who collaborated a lot with Grimes back in the day, hasn't really put out a lot of music in this recent decade. But when she put out an EP, there was this song, Illusory, that, really was the flagship song for the project that captivated me instantly. I mean, she really knows how to produce her own work. I mean, she's an amazing producer, and she has the perfect vocals to sort of ride these very euphoric and shimmering production. I just am absolutely captivated and taken to another dimension by what Hannah can bring, and I really, really hope she puts out another full-length album sometime in the near future.
Gold thread with their teeth. Every night I went to see them. No, I did not sleep.
We're going to see some more Florence on the Machine on this list, that's for sure. Florence takes us to the fairy well. At least I think that's where she does. It's a bit vague who she's talking about with the hidden folk, but I absolutely love the sort of Celtic undertones, the pagan undertones of a song about surrendering yourself to the creatures of the night, to the wild, to the earth, and discovering the vastness of time and space and your part in it in a way that is so visceral and grounding. Florence has never been this esoteric, and I am 100% here for it.
Gift shop in the lobby. Acts like God ain't watching.
Hayley Williams delivered an absolute standout record this year. It was a masterclass in songwriting, also in promotion, and doing it a very unconventional way with dropping all of the songs first on her website with no pomp and circumstance, and then putting them all out as singles on Apple Music and on streaming, and then finally putting them together as a CD. True Believer is a brilliantly worded meditation on growing up in the South for Williams and what religion means to her, her perspective on it, something that I think many of us who, look at certain practices and beliefs in certain parts of this country and wonder, how did it come to be this way? There's a haunting, through line that she weaves of racism, of exploitation, that is just extremely, of religiosity that is just extremely aptly placed on a very beautiful track that I think showcases some of Hayley's best songwriting to date. Rosalia decided to go full opera with her comeback single, Berghain. I should have researched a little bit more into what Berghain meant or what it is. I do believe she is singing in German, but then she teams up with the one and only Björk, which of course is not the first time. They teamed up in 2023 for their charity single Oral. But this song is a complete tour de force, so avant-garde, so left field, so genre bending, that I can't help but give it its flowers. I mean, I love when I see pop truly be art. This is the very definition of art pop. Perhaps the very ending with Yves Tumor's vocal does, well, let's just say it makes me hesitant to play this song for my parents. It's a bit unfortunate, but I also do feel that the sort of sonic bridge of ancient and modern, or old and modern, classic, traditional with modern, is an interesting juxtaposition that I think she wanted to have in the song. Introducing that slight hip hop element to very classical instrumentation and orchestration is a beautiful bridge to modern day.
The doctors gave you until the end of the night, but not till daylight.
Ethel Cain put out 2 albums this year, and her first was definitely not easy on the ears. I talk about it in my album tier ranking video. Perverts, although I appreciate and respect it as a project, was one of the most depressing and dark things I've ever listened to. Although I didn't listen to the whole thing, I sort of skimmed it. One song I did listen to in its entirety. But Willoughby Tucker, I'll Always Love You, is the summer flip side, and also the more accessible offering that she gave this year. And I have not really gotten into Ethel Cain very much. I still need to listen to Preacher's Daughter. I'll make a point to make sure I go back there eventually, because I'm really intrigued by her storytelling. I love how whimsical her guitar work is, the classic Americana rooting that transcends a lot of different genres of rock and old rock and country. It has its thumb on the scale of great American songwriting, and I feel Ethel Cain, especially considering I believe she is from the South, does a great way of capturing that sort of melancholy that those humid summer southern nights and days encapsulate best. This is the perfect embodiment of summertime sadness in a song. In all of her music, the artist is telling this story of Ethel Cain, who is this sort of mythologized fictional character. And this song is reckoning with the death of this character's father, sort of as a prologue to the events from her first. So I do think the storytelling will make more sense if I dive into the first record, and I look forward to doing that.
It's a walk of fame, and the clouds are bright and lighting up my face. Every day, every night, it's all the same. I walk the concrete.
Miley Cyrus may have put out one of her least commercially successful albums outside of Dead Pets this year, but she definitely walked those high heels. She walked that Mugler in effortless, chic confidence that radiated art and Bowie-esque frivolity of essence of being. I don't know if that's a good way of saying it, but this album is so revelatory for Miley, and Walk of Fame is just an unashamed catwalk of a song. I mean, she just grabs you by the throat with that beat and holds you up in the air and says, "Listen, bitch, you're going to bow down to me." And there's nothing else I can say. I mean, this is the ultimate dance in high heels on the streets of Los Angeles song. I don't know what else to say.
And we're so close, feels like dancing. And those strange things happen.
Alison Goldfrapp is such a master, such a maestro of weaving together synth melody. I absolutely love her sophomore solo record, Flux, but Strange Things Happen. It was hard for me to pick which song ultimately rose to the top of the pack, but there's something so under your skin about the promise, the electric promise, the electricity of desire and potentiality of love that is so brilliantly sonically reproduced here. I see so many vibrant colors, and I just feel like I'm transcended into this, elevated space and time in a movie when I listen to this. And her vocals are so buttery smooth. She rides these disco beats better than anyone. I mean, I don't know, maybe Sophie Ellis-Bextor did this pretty well on her earlier records, but I feel like Alison Goldfrapp has really taken that mantle. She sort of is like Kylie Minogue, but if Kylie Minogue had a slightly deeper vocal.
It's not like I'm still not over you.
Ariana Grande gave us the deluxe edition, because remember we did kind of get a deluxe for, it was the semi-deluxe. It was like halfway deluxe for Eternal Sunshine last year. But we got Brighter Days Ahead, and there were two songs that I really think stood out from that new edition. And ultimately, Twilight Zone was the one that took the cake. The shimmering, melancholic production as she effortlessly weaves together her melody of kind of the haze or afterglow of a relationship and reveling in what that was. This song perfectly encapsulates the dreamlike, ethereal quality of Memory, and of her music video that she put out that shows her as an older woman, watching memories before they're deleted from her brain, so perfectly encapsulates the feeling that these songs elicit. And so much of her Eternal Sunshine record did as well. Ariana is just proving to be, she's finding a lane for herself in pop music that it fits her so well. I know it's so different, and she maybe feels like she's stepping back from the more kind of R&B side of her career. I don't think that side's going to ever fully go away. I think that she's just turning different knobs in her oeuvre of artistry at different times, turning one up and turning one down, but it doesn't mean it's fully off and that it's not going to potentially be turned back on again. But I really love this Eternal Sunshine era for her musically. This is my favorite Ariana Grande record, for sure.
It helps to keep us strong, so strong. With love that guides the way.
Barbra Streisand, kind of rather quietly in the night, not many people talk about this song, but she did release a duet album with Mariah Carey and Ariana Grande featuring on a track with her as a trio. And I was actually kind of shocked to learn, at least correct me if I'm wrong, that this is not a cover. This was a song written for Barbra this year. And it is such a classic song. I mean, you would easily have seen Mariah sing this in the 90s. And it's the closest we get to Ariana fully doing a Mariah Carey impersonation. I just love hearing these three generations. We've got the boomer, Gen X, and millennial so brilliantly represented here. The grandmother, mother, and daughter, of pop R&B together. Barbra Streisand wasn't R&B. She was classical crossover. But you know what I mean. They just fit so well together. Such a beautiful, somewhat saccharine, but I love that, trickly sweet 90s throwback.
Opening me feels like a striptease. Opening me feels like a
So, Striptease appears on both versions of Eusexua, but on the new version, it gets revamped, featuring this artist Earth Eater. And I must say, the feature elevates this song even more. The harmonies of them together in the chorus make this even more goosebump-inducing, if it wasn't already. Now, this song has many different forms. It's very amorphous, as so many of FKA Twigs' songs are. Even though there is a verse-chorus structure, it takes off in ways you'd never expect. And I know it's not the most accessible for people of a pop listening ear, but it's the perfect bridge song, I feel, because it's got elements of FKA Twigs' earlier music, that kind of glitchy sporadicism, that fervent sort of, unfiltered, unbridled energy that she doesn't know what to do with, that kind of translates into very haphazard melody work. It has that, and the vocals are very feral, which she likes to do, but then it has this very polished, deep-based pop hook that drags you back in by the ankle or by the arm and by the throat, really, and just spellbinds you. And so ultimately, I love the line, "I got a birthmark on my mind. I know you'll like it." That is something I would really love to, have, again, cross-stitched on a pillow somewhere, maybe as a tattoo. I don't know. I would never tattoo lyrics on myself. But if I did, it would be that.
Need a sweeter goodbye. I'm like a fruit bat hanging tight.
I'm a little sad that I only have one of Monsters and Men song from their All Is Love and Love and Pain and the Mouse Parade album on this list, but if I had to pick one, it had to be Fruit Bat, the longest song they've ever written. This song is simplistic lyrically. It's just a simple lyric refrained. But the way the emotion goes without saying, I mean, that's something that so works so well with their subtlety. I think Fruit Bat does the best out of a record that is a little understated at just allowing you space to just revel in the emotionality of their guitars and keyboard and Nana's vocal. And I think it stays and lingers with you so wonderfully. The image of waiting for someone in the night like a fruit bat hanging, and that pining, that yearning is just so prevalent. And it was wonderful to see this song performed live.
This feeling I can't get enough. 'Cause I won't be used for more love and left out to cry. I don't wanna fit into the darkness tonight. Show me the light. I don't wanna be the one to fall across the
We reached the top 10. Lady Gaga with her Michael Jackson tribute. There was never a more Michael Jackson song written that was not performed by Michael Jackson. This is obviously a tribute to him, but of course its own thing as well. This is a song I would have absolutely loved to have seen her perform live, and of course loved to have seen a music video for. But I know it won't happen, and that's okay. But I think Lady Gaga proved that she is the queen of pop in so many ways on this record, even if the general public may not be as in awe of it as they once were. I do think the Academy, the Grammys, are going to be the most in tune, though, they've ever been. And I'm hoping it's enough to sail Gaga to an Album of the Year win. It would be so phenomenal if it did. Ray's Where Is My Husband took the world by storm. I am really excited for her upcoming project, if this is what we got leading us into it. I've never heard a pop song so... It's refreshing to hear pop music not be afraid to be desperate. I think that, playing it cool, calm, and collected is a thing. We can all do it. But for those of us who have been on the single train for quite a long time, we all feel deep in our bones what she's feeling and expressing on this track. And it has a hook at a tempo that will just relentlessly keep you up. It's like several shots of espresso, and I love that. I just absolutely love the energy here. I am all here for it.
Stay when the ecstasy is far away, and I pray that it's coming around again. And you say
Miley Cyrus delivers some of her most beautiful ballads yet on her Something Beautiful record. More to Lose is such an elegant, elevated song for her, talking about, reflecting, I think, of her fires, the fires that devastated her past home in Malibu, the wreckage of her failed marriage to Liam Hemsworth, all the things she's been through as a child star coming up to the superstar she is today, and of course, relating it to my own experience. All of that comes through in such a brutally honest tone and way on a song like this that has one of the most beautiful key changes I've heard in pop music in quite a while. Chappell Roan's song The Giver I saw was on Barack Obama's Songs of 2025 list, which, first of all, The Giver, if I'm not mistaken, no, that's right, it did come out in early 2025. She performed it on SNL in 2024. It took a long time for that song to come out. Well, I would disagree. I think The Giver pales in comparison to the masterwork that is The Subway, which was released this summer. Now, we don't know if an album is actually coming very soon at all. Chappell said, don't expect anything because I still got a lot of work to do and I don't know when it's coming. I will not be forced into writing an album. Thank you very much. And I respect it, but, me thinks that, the pieces may fall into place sooner than we may think. But regardless, I hope this doesn't end up being a homeless single. And if this is a look at what's to come, with The Giver being country tinged and now The Subway being somewhat country tinged, I think we could be in for a real treat. I mean, there's definitely some Maggie Rogers, Haim influence. Those two artists come to mind. But I think she elevates their sound in a way that is so cathartic and brilliantly constructed melodically. When she's singing, She Got Away, at first I thought she was saying she got away, like she got a way of captivating me. But then I realized she's most likely singing about she got away. And it's just chasing someone. I mean, this song for me, when I think of the subway, I always think of people you see on a subway. Maybe you see someone that you think is hot. We've all been there, and you're like, gosh, I really want to just stare at this person. And you just feel like you're falling in love with them without even knowing a thing about them. And then they get off the subway, or you get off the subway, and there's that pang of, I'm never going to see this person again. That's it. That's all it was ever going to be. And in a busy city, I think that's something that you have to get used to all the time. And every time I go into New York or into Philadelphia, it's like nonstop, any city. And I fall in love a lot every day, or at least in lust. And so for me, I may be misinterpreting this, but to me, based on the visuals and what I get from this song, I'm getting that sort of energy, that emotion that it's like, I am never going to see this person again because they're a needle in a haystack and I let them get away. And I am going to be enslaved to the yearning for the rest of time to a degree. And sometimes you just got to own it. And you just got to say, look, I can't do anything to shrug off you. You stained me. I am infected. What am I going to do about that? I am just going to do what I can, get by, revel in it, express this emotion the best way I can. And so to me, that's what this song symbolizes. A chance encounter with someone that will forever capture your mind and soul. I mean, I do think that she is referring to someone she actually had a more meaningful connection with than just a glance on a subway. But that might have been how it started. Or maybe she saw someone that reminded her of her on the subway. But just an absolute magnum opus for Chappell. I'm so excited to see where she goes from here.
I'm so confused. My life moves faster than me. Can't feel the ground beneath my feet. No matter what.
Times Like These is such a effervescent, timely, wistful, breezy song that feels so almost too good to exist. That pop music from such a young star today would be looking to Madonna and Ray of Light-esque production to make music in 2025 like this. This song reminds me of the power of Goodbye and the soaring, cathartic nature of its production. The way that she uses the soft instrumentation of that guitar to beautifully blend with her soft and sort of understated vocal delivery. It's very feminine. It's very close to the ear. You just feel this kinship with Addison through listening to this song. For any of us who feel so dizzy in the fast pace of life, like the world is a blur around you and you're just stuck in it, trying to grasp onto things, but they're just too ephemeral. They're too temporal. There's nothing that's lasting and everything's moving too fast. How do you, find stillness in the chaos? And I think this song does such a brilliant job of, embodying that in the sonics and in the lyrics. I mean, Addison has shot to worldwide fame at such a young age and has had very different reactions to her as a pop star. I mean, she has transformed herself from being this kind of laughingstock image of, social media overuse to being potentially this more enigmatic Madonna of our times for pop music. It's a very interesting and refreshing and ravishing transformation to behold. I'm just absolutely in love with Addison, and if she keeps on making music like this with those incredible Swedish producers of hers, we could be. She's probably going to change things up. She's not going to work with those same producers forever, but I wouldn't mind if she did. Hamnet is such a challenging but beautiful film to watch. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. And the soundtrack by Max Richter is just as astounding and provocative emotionally as the film itself. Oftentimes the soundtrack is 50% of, if not more, the emotional weight of a film for me. And the emotional moments are elevated so beautifully and so gracefully by Max Richter's understated orchestration. This song builds over time to become a crescendo of emotion that feels at once hopeful and incredibly sorrowful. And the film is a great blend of both of those things, because the film is, if you've seen it, if you don't, about loss and looking forward in life while constantly being pulled by that loss back, and how you learn to coexist and cope with that presence haunting over you. It's a true testament to grief and to also Shakespeare, of course, and his wife, his child Hamnet, lost child Hamnet.
Do you ever feel so alone that you get implode? No one would know. And when you look around and nobody's so.
Hayley Williams perhaps made one of the most depressing pop songs I've ever heard in such a relatable and digestible morsel of deep breath sigh that I could imagine. I don't know if that made any sense. As soon as I heard this song, I felt so seen. 2025 has been a rather glum year for me and for many people. And it's really easy to fall into this fog. And I think that this song is so brilliantly navigating that fog and sort of not even fully trying to escape it, but just acknowledge its existence. Hayley's tone, it's not completely, it's not always in any hurry to get out of the funk. It's just existing in it. It's existing in life as we know it right now. And don't you ever feel like it's just all a bit too much? Yeah, all the time, quite often. No other better soundtrack, I think, to those complicated emotions of depression, although it's not always that complicated, than this.
Is there ocean deeper than mine? Did you sink into a falling love at first sight? I know we're good, but I'm constantly comparing myself.
Jade has a lot of bangers on her debut album and accompanying deluxe. But at the end of the day, Plastic Box takes the cake. And I do believe I did see this on Pitchfork's list. So they do have taste, but they didn't put it at number 3. When you study pop music, particularly current pop music in history, there should be a course on how to make a song like Plastic Box. It ticks off every single box I want from my female pop music. I don't know how else to say it. I'm just absolutely enthralled with the production, with the lyrical content, her vocal, the way her vocal is produced on the track, how she sounds, how it all comes together is just chef's kiss. And there's not really much more I can say. I could just repeat that over and over again in different ways.
Trees turn gray and the land turns brown in a house in the woods on the edge of town. Bury it deep, swallow it down. taking the herbs.
Although it's not everyone's cup of tea, Florence and the Machine, when she's a bit meandery, is always something I tune my ears to. This song doesn't have an end goal or a destination in mind in the same way so many of her others do. It's an understated, mid-tempo, folk-leaning ballad that I think is an homage and tribute to the witchy, introverted side that she is feeling the stronger and stronger itch to manifest as days go on. As we get older, those of us with witchy sensibilities, that call towards the hut in the forest, it just grows ever, ever stronger. And I do wonder at what point I will fully surrender. And I think that it's a wonderful meditation in our modern age of finding pagan grounding in 2025. She even references her phone, and yet also all of these, herbalistic and primal elements of food and earth and trees and scent. It's a really great cocktail of, modern witchcore aesthetic that is very much about, surrendering to the flow and space of nature. And the way she, I think, holds on to those notes of the world turns. I keep coming back to that chorus and just feeling it deep, deep, deep in my soul and in my bones. The chaos of modern life juxtaposed against the omnipresent bliss of nature, the, emptiness and yet the rich fullness that you can tap into, the silence and yet the cacophony of the earth and the forest and the trees and the plants. I just, the mountains, I'm so transfixed by this track. I don't know what else to say. I hope that made sense. All right, here we go. Number 1. Here we go. Okay, I know I had to. Come on, Rihanna giving us the most half-assed vocal performance, one line in the vocal booth, and let's call it a day. Put a line on that and just, why don't you just riff that line and just turn it into a dance track and, oh, I'm in the Smurfs movie, let's do that. I mean, it's iconic. It's the most IDGAF pop song ever made, and I'm here for it. It's so weird and corny. But no, my real number 1 is... Could it really be anything else? Am I not a homosexual? Am I not a white homosexual? Am I not a 32-year-old white homosexual who was 15 years old when Lady Gaga debuted? Yeah. It was always written to be that Abracadabra would, just have me in a chokehold for the whole year. If anything, the only thing I don't like about this song is how high it set my expectations for Mayhem, because there's nothing that comes close to this song on that record. And it is, a bit unfortunate, but at least this song exists. And Rah Rah Gaga can say she fully returned. If she's ever going to come again, I don't know. We can thank Michael Polanski. We can thank, Joker Folia 2 flopping, maybe. I don't know what it is to give us something that I never thought we were going to get again. But Abracadabra is just the epitome of pop music. I mean, I know I said with Plastic Box, the history books will look back and realize the playbook. But, the playbook for even more avant-garde pop dance music, EDM music, should definitely be looking towards the construction of songs like this. The many different iterations this song takes, the forms this song takes, that beautiful soprano vocal that she uses in the bridge. I mean, just take me all the way frickin' there. I'm just absolutely here for it. And, it's perhaps a little bit of a predictable number 1 for someone like me, but I don't know. I don't care. I I expect this level of sophistication and cuntiness from my pop music. I don't know what else to say. And vocal, of course. Vocal, vocal, vocal. The live performances, I mean, she does not miss a step. I mean, the notes are on point. Um, yeah, no, it's just, I mean, this is where I'm like, Ava Max could never, you know. I mean, I hope that some of these younger, you know, iterations can ascend to this level, but Lady Gaga is supreme for a reason in many ways. So, I mean, I don't know. That's how I got to say there, folks. So, that's my top 40. What do you think? What is your top 10, top 20? If you want to go beyond that, let me know. Also, if you have a few songs you hated this year that you want to shout out, let me know. I'm trying to think what would be my least favorite song I heard this year. I mean, it's so hard because, you know, there's so many big hit singles. I mean, I hate that Morgan Wallen song. I hate that Ordinary song by Alex Warren. I mean, it's a lot of that kind of crap that I would say is my least favorite. But you know, it was a better year for women than I think it was for men. Not that I usually think men are very strong generally, because I'm not a big fan of male artists, unfortunately, but it's just what it is. But I think this year in particular, the men really did not, you know, step up to the plate at all. I mean, Ed Sheeran is the only one that I felt like made any kind of effort. And even then, it's Ed Sheeran. You know, I'm not going to be raving home about what he did with his record. But yeah, so I'll be curious to, you know, see what your thoughts are on this list. And again, it will change over time. There will probably be some songs that I missed in here that I will listen to next year that I will add to this list posting this video. But that's just how it goes. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please give a like if you did. Subscribe for more content like this. I've got some 2026 videos coming up where I will be predicting and talking about my hopes for 2026 in music. Hopefully that'll be coming out relatively soon after the new year. And then I definitely want to do what has become an annual tradition, talking about all of the movies I watched for the first time in the previous year, ranked on Letterboxd. In order. So that's going to be a long video, but I will try and make that as well, because I'm getting more and more into talking about film on this channel as well. So stay tuned for that. I hope you all have had a wonderful holiday and have a wonderful, blessed new year. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace, love, and light. Bye.